Hello, everybody, and welcome to Firefly Chats, the show where we talk all things The Last of Us. I am your host, James T. Keegan, and today we are talking Bloaters and Brothers because it's episode 5 of HBO's The Last of Us. So I can't do this alone. Let me get my panel on the screen. First up, as he is every week, we're joined by Triple G Comics. How's it going, man?
Not so bad. Yourself? You well?
Yeah, all good. A little bit somber after watching this episode, I think, but aside from that.
I mean, I have to say it's a good one. I cannot wait to get stuck into this one.
Yeah, I'm nothing but praise from you about this one, so I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts on it. Next up, he is everyone's favorite attention-seeking geek, Benjamin.
Yes, I'm back.
How are we?
Don't all, clap and show excitement at once.
Wow.
Thanks. There you go. Give me what I deserve. No, it's I wanted to come on because I think episode 3 was absolutely outstanding. But yeah, I thought this was a great one as well, and I want to kind of come and gush about it, to be honest. So looking forward to getting into it.
Happy to have you, man. Next up, we have GP Venom making his debut on the channel. How's it going, man?
I'm here.
What's
I'm
up?
here to look for overhead wires. That's my job.
Nice. Awesome. It's good to have you, man. We've had you in the chat quite a bit and during the past live show, so it's nice to kind of get your proper opinion.
Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely, man. Next up, he is the patriarch of the comic book familia, Efren.
What is going on, The Last of Us familia? I haven't seen this episode, so no spoilers, okay, guys? I haven't seen it.
Okay, no worries. No problem. I'll just I'll delete 90% of my slides. It's good to have you back, man. And last of us, but not the least of us, he is the co-host of the Adaptapals podcast, joining us from Down Under. It's Dustin. How's it going, man?
Hello. I'm good. I'm very good. Very excited to be here. It's gonna be good.
Happy
and
to
that
have him, man.
episode is spectacular, so I am excited to talk about this one.
Yeah,
and like you said, somber as hell.
100% is it's I've said before that The Last of Us, the first game, took me a couple of weeks to play through, like in a few different sessions, because of how kind of dark it can get. And I think the show kind of reflects that quite well. So looking forward to getting your thoughts. Before we move on to the episode, we'll just see who's in the chat.
We get like a week between each one.
Yeah, to kind of recover it, definitely, I think. But first up, we have StreamYard, Quack, always here, always a pleasure. We got James from This Week in Metropolis. Hey guys, hope you're well, loving these reviews. Thank you for joining us. And we have Connie Dalton. Guess what? I haven't watched it. I'm here just to drop a like and say hi, Connie. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So, absolutely. So, usually I do a bit of the Last of Us news, but it's been kind of quiet the last week, so don't really have anything to go over. But since we have a couple of newbies to the show, I just thought maybe we kind of go a bit more in depth in your thoughts on the show up to this point. So, there we go.
More in depth than usual.
There you go. So The Last of Us. Yeah,
is that possible?
So, episode 5. Ben, we haven't seen you since the first episode. So why don't you just let us know overall kind of what you've thought of the show up to this point so far?
I think it's been outstanding. I know that the sort of second half of that first episode I was maybe a little bit critical on in that first episode, but I've swallowed my words, guys, and you won't hear me say that often. I am gagging, possibly gargling on those words because it's just been so consistently moving. I think there were obviously a lot of comparisons with like Walking Dead and things like that, but for me, it's really starting to sort of set itself apart from those comparisons because of how well it is written, and also the performances are perfectly kind of match up with the fantastic writing, to be fair. And like it's just kind of becoming a bit of a masterclass of like how to kind of get you attached to characters in a short amount of time, because
Absolutely.
For me, and we can get into it a little bit more later, but it's now 2 episodes where they've introduced kind of these 4 characters that in the space of an hour you've fallen in love with and you're completely invested in, and that's quite an amazing achievement in a TV show. Usually it takes a couple of episodes or a season or whatever for you to get to that point. But so yeah, like to be honest, the clickers aren't important for me in this show at the moment. You know, it's really just about the kind of human emotion and struggle of life, really. So yeah, quite incredible, and I'm enjoying it, which annoys me because I wanted you to be wrong about this. But
I knew, like, there was a few criticisms you brought up in the first episode. Like, one thing that particularly stood out to me was you said that Ellie wasn't very endearing. When, if you know the games, you know Ellie is one of the most endearing characters I think ever written. So
I still think she's a fucking psychopath.
yeah,
But we'll get into it a little bit later. I think there was leaps made in this episode specifically around Ellie and you know, her kind of endearing qualities for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree about the whole connecting with characters very quickly, because in the game you tend to have an hour or two with each of these kind of sets of characters to kind of grow attached to them, and you're fighting alongside them. So the fact that the show has been able to do that has been one of the things that's kind of blown me away the most. Dustin, what's your thoughts on the show? Are you what's your familiarity with The Last of Us firstly before kind of this series?
So I've played the first game, I think, now 3 times through, and I'm currently on my second playthrough of the second one. So I consider myself a pretty massive fan. It's probably my favorite game series. So I had like a lot of thoughts going into the show. I was like, they're gonna fuck this up because they do that with every game adaptation.
Yeah.
But it's really just excellent. They've absolutely nailed it. So I'm pretty happy. You know, the world looks like The Last of Us. The clickers look like the clickers. Joel and Ellie act and look and behave like Joel and Ellie, and it's awesome. So yeah, I love it. It's better than I could have ever imagined it to be. And yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really happy. And then the latest episode, again, just especially the Henry and Sam stuff, I was like, it's one of my favorite parts of the game. It's one of the most sort of interesting and shocking parts, I think. So to see it brought to life in such a great way, and all the changes that they made that worked so much for TV, like with making Sam deaf, I thought was awesome. I can't give it enough praise.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with every word you said
Yeah.
as a fellow fan of the series. But just since you are, I think, the first person I've had on the show now that has played part 2, so I'll just throw a quick reminder that there will be full spoilers for episode 5 of HBO's The Last of Us, but there will be no spoilers in anything from the games past Henry and Sam's kind of final scene. So there is a few moments in this episode that I think kind of foreshadow things, and I've been very careful to not highlight those. Because you could kind of deduce things that happen later on. So I'll just to keep that in mind if we pass by something, Dustin.
No, that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. GP, what you've been watching the series week to week? Had you heard, or were you very familiar?
Yeah,
with
well, I watched the back in 2013. I watched the playthrough for it, and I never watched this for like the second game. I never watched anything for like that, so I knew a bit about it. But the show itself, yeah, it's one of them shows that hits you in the feels every episode. Like, it's hands down one of my favorite things to watch at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's definitely my favorite. The quality of it is insane, and I think
it really is. Yeah,
captured something with people, considering how it's kind of incepted pop culture at the moment.
Yeah.
Efren, thoughts on episode 5, just kind of overall, without going into too many specifics, since we'll be going scene for scene.
Sure, this was my favorite episode. Like I said, I've never played the game. I was vested in these 2 characters from the beginning. One thing about a good show, if people watch it, it goes by really quick. It's an hour long, this episode, but it just seemed to go by so quick. I went, dang, already? I really have enjoyed this series, and this has been my favorite episode so far.
Favorite episode? Yeah, I threw a poll up on my channel a couple days ago asking people to vote for their favorite episode. This actually won with 50% of the votes, which surprised me because I thought 3 would be a runaway with it. But yeah, this is one that I think is really kind of clinging to people. Peter, episode 5.
Absolutely loved it. I mean, I agree with everything Efren said. This has been my favorite episode so far, and I think I said last week, James, that this was turning into one of my favorite shows on TV, and it absolutely is for a number of reasons. First of all, because it's made Ben admit he was wrong, which is just tremendous. I love that. But also, I was just thinking as we're talking, how lucky we are to be geeks this last year. We've had The Boys, which was amazing. We've had Stranger Things, House of the Dragon, and now this. I just feel like we're being spoilt by superb TV at the moment, because this is right up there for me with some of those shows. It's superb, loving it.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath at the Emmys, I think. This year.
Yeah,
100%. So,
Thor: Love and Thunder. You didn't mention Thor: Love and Thunder, did you?
Shut your face, Ben. No, I didn't. That was utter dog shit, Ben. Utter dog shit. And Thor's my best character, as you know.
Okay. All right, so we'll just get into it, episode 5. So we open with this, I think, quite horrific kind of scene of
this was so dark.
Because there is like an interesting, I think, morality kind of gray area with the kind of resistance and the Fedra people. Like it's mentioned later on that like Kansas City Fedra were notoriously bad, like in terms of like murdering people and raping people. But just seeing some of the stuff going on here, this guy being hung, another guy being dragged to the streets, and people shot in the face and everything. It's quite a shocking, I thought, opening to the episode.
Oh, completely. Like it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think it opens up that kind of a bit of a grey conversation, in terms of sort of political agendas and, the far left being as bad as the far right in a lot of senses. And I felt like this kind of represented that kind of toxicity sometimes of, you've got the kind of fascist side of the Fedra, but then as Henry said, like all the things that were done to them, they then did back. So it's like you're as bad as what you were fighting for, or what you were fighting against, rather. So I just found that a really kind of it was almost like a great kind of human study. This bit of like how humans are the worst. We are the worst.
That is sort of the theme of The Last of Us, I think, in a way that people are just terrible, But also I think this really beautiful shot of haunting but beautiful of like the Fedra symbol and the guy being kind of strung up in the reflection. And then we get introduced. So we got a little glimpse of Henry and Sam last week, but we get kind of a proper introduction here. And I think instantly very endearing and a relationship I think a lot of people really connected with. But Dustin, you mentioned about the whole kind of adding the deaf kind of element to Sam.
Well, because they're not. Well, he's not in the game, and it's like I'm always happy to see a change like that to sort of make me pay more attention. And it's a very good. It's a great thing for a director to do, to just sort of very quickly endear the audience to a character. They can say, well, they've got a disability and they've got to survive in this world, and it works every time, and it is so good. So you've got that relationship, and it does not like negatively impact like how the story played out in the story and in the game at all. Like it still works. He still gets to have this conversation with Ellie and everything. They still get to bond because they got the little Etch-a-Sketch thing, which was a great touch, by the way. Yeah. So it was just like a very nice thing. And also in a world where you have to really listen out for zombies and stuff, or infected rather, being deaf is a pretty big deal. And it's like we see with Joel as well. So I really loved it. It was very sweet and endearing, and absolute masterclass performances as well from those two actors. I can't remember the names, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had it, but I have forgotten them. But they're fantastic, I think, performance from both, especially Sam. But it sort of adds an interesting element, I think, because in a way, Henry, like he's usually quite upfront with Sam about things, but I think you get a sense that he kind of shields him a little bit from some of the horrors in the world, and that's something he's only really able to do because he's translating things for him. So that added like an interesting element, Ephraim, were you kind of a fan of Henry and Sam's relationship in this?
Oh, yes. I mean, it just goes to show you what happens when you get talented actors on a show. The dynamic between these two brothers, how the older one took care of the younger one. And when you have a cute kid on the show, man, it's just, I go, wow, you just invested in it even more so.
Yeah, 100%. Any other kind of thoughts on their overall relationship for you?
I thought it was fantastic. I was just quickly having a look there. Do we know, was the young lad, the young actor, was he actually deaf, or was it just a performance?
I think he was.
Yeah, I
actually,
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned it that it brought up. It affected the casting.
Yeah, it's in the, in like the post-show sort of like not podcast, like little 5-minute thing or whatever. They apparently like the entire cast learned the ASL and we're just like talking with him and stuff. I'm like, that's awesome. Always love to hear stuff like that.
Yeah,
so that just makes it even better for me. I think,
Yeah.
Tremendous. I loved both characters almost immediately. I thought it was great. Yeah, amazing casting.
Sorry, I just wanted to come in on that because I completely agree with Dustin with it being like an endearing quality, having the sort of disability and stuff. But at the same time, I do that's sometimes exploited as a gimmick, I think, in certain things. And here it didn't feel like that. It didn't even. I kind of got to a point with it where it didn't even feel like a handicap. Like it was just the way that he communicated.
Yeah.
And in that moment I was like, oh fuck, that's really bloody cool. Like, so kudos to everyone involved in the way that was portrayed for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Excellently done, I think. So we have sort of a divisive character, I think. Peter and Efren both last week kind of were saying they weren't huge fans of this character. Ben, what are your thoughts on Kathleen?
Yeah, she's still very annoying. I'm very, very pleased with the results of this episode for that on that front. And I guess that was kind of the point. And I guess they kind of explored her falling into the position that she was in. But ultimately it was like everyone's reacting to grief in this world, and I think for her, she's reacting in a more of a petulant way than most people. Do you know what I mean? Like Joel hasn't become the leader of a Inception group, that go around killing and pillaging. Like, so it's like, I think from the off, I just did not like her, but I almost think she played to that in the way that she played it a bit as well. Like, I think that was kind of the point. You kind of want to, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I definitely connect. Like, we learn more about her in this episode, and so I think I definitely liked her more by the end of this. But like it's gone, Peter.
She's I'm sorry, but she's just not believable. I get the how sad and our brother died and all that kind of stuff. I do not buy for a second that this woman could somehow command all of these people to do what they do. I mean, even at the end when the clickers and everything get attacked, she kind of flanders around like, you've got to defend her. She's just not a strong character. And I guess people might be working for her because of the respect and love of her brother.
I think that was the thing, wasn't it? That he
was
just the line about following him to the end or whatever.
Ben, if you were there, you would have killed her by now and taken command, surely. Do you know what I mean? She's
but we'll touch on this later.
What he just said.
I think we all will.
Is that what you would think of me? No, let's be honest, Pete. I'm the fucking bloater.
That's true. That is true.
There is a scene later where Perry kind of references why they're kind of standing behind her, so we'll get to that. But Dustin, are you with us? You kind of disappeared for a sec. I guess not.
He'll reply in 10 minutes.
Yeah. GP, what would you think of Kathleen? We haven't got your
the last episode I wasn't keen on her, but she's just a proper little psycho, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And it really shone in this episode.
Yeah.
I'd say if the character had a bigger arc, people would probably grow more towards her.
Yeah.
Like they did with, I know people keep referencing The Walking Dead with the show, but it's kind of like the governor.
Yeah, a little bit. I think.
If you give her like a bigger arc,
believed that he'd be the leader more. I think like he had those qualities that. Do you know what I mean? Like, she. Do you know what she is? She's a Karen.
Yeah.
She is a Karen.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Go talk to the manager.
Yeah.
Dustin, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
I was having some connection issues, but they seem to have cleared up.
Okay, if you're back now, that's great. I wanted to ask you particularly because Kathleen is sort of the most prominent original character, I think, on the show, and probably will be
Yeah.
for the season. So, what are your kind of thoughts on her and her kind of whole arc?
God, just what an awful person. She was very, very unlikable because she had that like smugness to her, like I'm in the right, when she's clearly not. Like she's just doing very awful things, and it's like she's sort of like, without spoiling anything, she's essentially like the epitome of The Last of Us. She's, all this awful stuff has happened to her to make her the way she is, and she's built this world around her where she can, treat people however she wants and do all this awful stuff to survive. And it's like, that's everyone who we meet in The Last of Us. But because it's all about perspectives, we see her as truly awful. But, someone like Perry can, get behind her because of his perspective. I think it's so fascinating. But like, from our point of view, she's just terrible and the worst. And I liked where she ended up at the end of the episode.
I do like the kind of, in some of her early scenes here, like the disdain that she's treating these kind of cooperators with. And I like this whole concept of there being kind of people who trade information for privileges with Fedra, and the idea that like in a revolution, they'd be the first ones to kind of to go. Like it's a scary, scary scenario to be in. But even the way she like calls them rats.
But she was a great villain.
She was a great villain.
I thought she was a wonderful villain. Yeah, just like a really awesome, a gross and creepy and unsettling, not creepy, but unsettling antagonist, because she's a psychopath and she does some awful things. But she's a bit unpredictable in that sense. I didn't really like her. And as a new character, I'm like, she, slotted right into that world and very believable as being part of it.
Yeah, I think for me, like she's not quite up to the standard of the characters that are pulled from the game, but I think I did enjoy her a lot of her scenes anyway.
I think for me, James, I know you maybe argue that the clickers are the big villain and stuff like that, but a lot of shows like Walking Dead, like Stranger Things, all those kind of stuff, live and die on the back of how powerful the villains are. And if she was meant to be a prime villain, I didn't get it.
I can't comment much further on that statement, Peter, without giving it away. But we'll just say that there are other antagonistic forces in this universe too. I also like the whole like
the Walking Dead comparisons.
Go on.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'd agree with the Walking Dead comparisons. I think that's where the show felt most like The Walking Dead, but she was above and beyond anything we're seeing in The Walking Dead in the seasons. So, I liked her for all of her wrong.
I just like how bitchy she gets sometimes. I thought that was kind of interesting. So we meet Edelstein. So this is the guy that shoots last. She shoots last episode, isn't it? The doctor. Yeah. So we kind of meet. So turns out he was actually working with him. So I think that maybe justifies those actions a bit more. Last week, but you mentioned that they don't have any weapons, they have no bullets left, and I love this whole kind of telling him you're scared, so that's why he's scared, and the Etch-a-Sketch, as you mentioned earlier, I thought was a really great device, and the whole
I can't believe you just said that it justifies the actions.
The what?
I can't believe you just said it justifies the actions of shooting the doctor in cold blood.
No, do you know what I mean? Like she was right about him working.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Like I wouldn't do it personally, but it's more understandable. Like not justified. Do you know what I mean? Like
I'm glad you clarified.
It's all about perspective from her point of view.
Perspective, exactly. That's why she killed him. So I get that. But the thing I thought was the Super Sam thing.
That was great.
And the whole kind of reassurance that he gives him as well.
It
was fantastic. You really feel like these two are brothers, and I think the actors did a phenomenal job here. And he did you hear a race car go past or something?
I think so. I think it was on my end. Sounded like not a race car, but like
coyotes.
I live in a bad part of Melbourne, and there are like
which isn't that
hoons.
bad.
Yeah, so no, it's not that bad. Yeah, but there are hoons. So sorry, everyone.
No problem.
And then they go again.
But yeah, I like the whole kind of giving him the mark. Yeah, we see in the last in this episode too that he kind of decorates the whole wall, so seeing him get the kind of bag of markers and crayons, and just shows Sam's kind of innocence in this world, just how good of a brother Henry is. So we cut to 10 days later. So they mentioned that they have 11 days with the food, so they're just about out. So that kind of forces them to leave. And yeah, they're kind of reassuring him, like, Edelstein's dead, but it's all going to be all right. This was fantastic, I thought, as well. The coloring his face in to kind of give him a bit more bravery.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, that's great. And we get kind of a little bit of a like nod to that here. Like it's sort of, you see it over here, Henry's eyes as well when he's looking at the.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone catch that?
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
I saw it online. You
I
definitely
didn't catch it
think that yourself,
in
James.
the.
Absolutely, I did.
I didn't catch it in the first shot, but I was watching it with my friend, and he goes, "They just did this," and then the second shot it comes up. I'm like, "Oh my god, they did! It's very good."
Yeah, your friend didn't think of it either. He saw it online too. I'm telling you, I want to find the person who actually spotted it the first time.
I'm very perceptive, Ben.
It actually, it came. He's the person, and he's been putting it out there.
It was cool. It was. I love stuff like that, like that you can revisit.
And one thing I always really love is seeing like an event from a different perspective, like that we've seen already. So seeing like them kind of staring out the window and Joel in the kind of shootout with the guys from last episode, that was great.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so we catch back up to where last week's episode ends, and I like it. Like they step on the glass, but Joel still just doesn't hear it. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Doesn't hear it.
Yeah. Some great dialogue here.
Bothered by the fact that probably Ellie didn't hear it.
Yeah, I think so. Because she mentions like that Joel's kind of deaf in one ear as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, like this whole line of like that's a weird fucking tone, man. I just like laughed at that. That was really great.
That was so good. So
really,
good.
Really sharp kind of dialogue in this show. And the whole like that's an asshole voice and thing. It's just a really great interaction. Yeah, I thought that was good. But it plays out a little bit differently in the game. So you're kind of escaping the people that ambushed you, and like again, the Kathleen kind of resistance group isn't really an element in the game. But you just kind of jump through a window, and Henry grabs you, and Sam pulls a gun to stop you fighting, and you just kind of move through the city. Sam, I think, or Henry wants to join the Fireflies. I think that's the kind of what gets you two going together.
Yeah, I believe so. If I remember correctly, yeah. Or at least looking to find him. That's Yeah,
but I think it's good that they've added kind of a dynamic to this. Otherwise, it would have been a bit disjointed. Like in the game, it kind of works, but I can see for a TV show, like you need kind of these other perspectives.
Well, all of the changes I've noticed have just sought to make the story less gamified, and that's really good. Like we get to in this episode, like the bloater, if it had happened 2 episodes ago, like it does in the game, it would have felt like a video game level. So all of the changes I think work to sort of make it its own thing that is not just a shot-for-shot remake of the game.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think like in the game, a bloater shows up when you're with Bill, so it would have been in episode 3. And we only got clickers revealed the previous episode, so I think it's also good to space things out a bit further. But yeah, this was a nice interaction with Joel handing Sam the food. I thought that was nice as well. Shows like it's not all bad, It's good. So yeah, here it's mentioned that the Kansas City Feds are particularly bad. Like that. Joel's like horrified at the idea that he's like a rat. I thought that was really funny. It kind of shows, that's his inner smuggler kind of coming out there. So yeah, I thought that another kind of great line of dialogue here was like, "I show the way, you clear the way." So, really sharp again. I don't think that's in the game, Dustin. Do you remember if that's that line? All right, I'll soon not. So we see kind of the show. This episode sort of highlights a bit more than the game. Ellie and Sam's relationship, like they have kind of a few kind of nice moments in the game, but they really kind of dug deep on it here. This line is actually pulled from that as well. But I thought it was, yeah, like you said, relationships are a big part of The Last of Us, and I think this was one that I also, it was nice to see Ellie and Sam kind of playing together, and they've, I think, made Sam a little bit younger here, so it's more of an older sister kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Were any of you kind of fans of this dynamic?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it was great
Yeah.
to see the Bond. Sorry, Ben.
No, I was just going to say she looked the most like a child that she's looked so far in this episode. So the moments where
Completely
she's
agree with
laughing
that.
and she's playing, it made you realize, oh yeah, she actually is a little girl, and because obviously the front that we've seen kind of up until that point. So it was just so refreshing to sort of see Sam kind of get her to put her guard down and reveal that much more kind of endearing element to Ellie. So yeah, this episode for me was a real turning point in terms of the relationship I have with how I view Ellie. Yeah, just played so, everything was just, and this is for the whole show, everything feels so bloody natural in the way that these actors are performing it. Like nothing feels stunted or kind of nothing looks like it was done on the 25th take. It all looks completely natural.
I think, just to come in on what Ben's saying there, there's a couple of, well, one in particular, YouTubers that have been quite vocal. I've seen on some of the comic boards and things about disliking her as an actress. I think she's absolutely phenomenal. I kind of get my head around that because I'm watching it each week and thinking, actually, she's amazing. She's pulling this off superbly. So I don't get the negativity.
She's spectacular. I think it's because, and it's a stupid reason, but it's because she just doesn't look like Ellie in the game. But she was never going to look like Ellie in the game because no one looks like Ellie in the game, except for Elliot Page, and he's 35. So, it's never going to happen.
Although Elliot Page does still look like he's a 14-year-old.
He does.
But
it's the whole casting thing is so bizarre to me. Like the way people reacted.
I tell you, Peter, though, it's not just a couple of YouTubers. Like I did a video back when the casting was announced about, and it's called The Excellent Casting of HBO's The Last of Us. It's my most watched video, and the reason it's my most watched video is because the comments were just flooded of abuse and people telling me how wrong I was and how horrible, how shit.
Did they subscribe though, James?
Maybe 20 of them did, probably. So worth it, But no, yeah, she's gotten awful stick like in the lead up to the show about taking this role on because it's a very beloved character, and people.
I think people are always going to complain about it when somebody's
absolutely,
when somebody becomes an actor in a certain series. People just naturally are going to say something without even watching the show. I like that they show the glimpse of how these two characters would have been if it was a normal life, as kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how just showed their innocence.
Yeah, they don't get to do it very often in this world, so it was just kind of heartwarming to see that. So yeah, Henry kind of outlines his plan, the tunnels. They're going to go through the tunnels, and how like the Kathleen's group think that there's infected down there, but there's actually not, so they should be okay. But just in case, Joel, you come along and you can take care of them. I really love this little. He gives like a little smirk, like a Sam does, and did that stand out to any of you? Like a little kind of cheeky, like he had a little swagger going. I thought it was funny.
There's so many little nuances in their performances, though. These two, like I haven't seen that Henry in anything else before.
Cheeky and
100%. I haven't seen that Henry in anything else before, and I need that actor in something else like pronto because I just absolutely loved him. I wanted to say as well, I feel like Henry's kind of inclusion and seeing Henry and Sam, it almost highlighted how kind of far gone Joel is in comparison, because Henry is kind of the more relatable one in this situation. Henry kind of represents us a little bit more as like how we would maybe respond to such a crisis, and Joel being so kind of hardened by everything, like Henry almost made him look worse by being so normal sort of thing. But then obviously that twisted towards the end. So
I think part of that, like, because I'd assume Henry is too young to even remember the like world.
I don't I feel like he's at less than 20, but maybe not. Like maybe he was born, or maybe it's like 23, 25. So he would have been born, and then the world went to shit like when he was a 5-year-old. So
yeah. In the game, he comes off as like an 18, 19-year-old, but I think he was like 20, 21, 22.
Yeah, mid-20s, I thought.
But that's sort of kind of an element of it. Is he doesn't know any other world, so his personality is almost developed. And like they haven't had to go out and survive; they've been living in this quarantine zone. And as bad as the conditions are, they had a degree of normalcy there. So I'd assume that's kind of why. But yeah, I think that's a really good point, like comparing him and Joel. Another great line, I thought the "he's not my dad" thing, the both saying it at the same time was kind of funny. That was funny. There's sort of a similar thing. It's not quite as comedic in the game. They just like explain this kind of straightforward. So yeah, we get to this kind of decorated hallway in the maintenance tunnels, and they find the kind of remnants of this community. So in this, I'm assuming, Dustin, you kind of recognize this image particularly. From the games. So
I was so excited in this whole scene.
Yeah. So you see kind of on the right of the page, there's the name Ish there. Ish is sort of like a really beloved like backstory kind of element in the games. Like you find as you're going through the sewers in the game, it's sewers instead of maintenance tunnels, but you find like a boat that's washed up ashore, and you find this note from this guy named Ish, and you kind of as you go through the tunnels, you find more and more, and it kind of shows. It's this like fisherman who starts building a community, and comes across other survivors, and they build a whole community together. And it's a really beloved kind of lore element of Last of Us, like to the extent that people were hoping an entire episode would be dedicated to it. And like even in one of my videos, I even pitched like an Ish TV show, like if they weren't going to do Joel and Ellie. So we mentioned a couple times spin-offs potentially, so like I think this is one that would be prime for that. But yeah, really beautiful kind of tragic story about like this community that builds, and then how everything gonna go sideways one day. But it was nice to see like at least a nod to that anyway.
So you have a face like that?
I assume that's what he looks like. This put a smile on my face. I mentioned before this kind of comic book series, and I wasn't sure they were going to do it, but here you go.
I squill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
I was watching, like, I was so excited. I love that. Yeah. And now that they've made it for the show, the comic book, they can make Savage Starlight as a real comic book, right? And sell it.
I'm surprised they haven't up to this point, but I actually think that is a possibility now. Like, I
surely on Etsy or something somewhere.
Yeah. But in the game, these are like a collectible. You kind of find them around the world, and you can collect them and give them to Ellie so she can read. Because she mentions like earlier on that she only has 1 or 2 issues, and she's like, to be continued, and I don't know what happens next. So it's like a nice little kind of side story that you have in it. And it's like referenced in like Uncharted. There's like skins in the multiplayer to do with Savage Starlight and everything. Yeah, you can play as like Nathan Drake in like a Savage Starlight outfit. So it's a cool like in-universe kind of IP. But yeah, 100%. I'd love to see a comic book series, an official one come out from this. And this is where the kind of mantra for the series comes from: the to the edge, to back. I'll definitely be picking one of them up. But endurance survives. So this is kind of the kind of tagline of the entire series, and it kind of stems from this comic book. And it's if you like go and meet like a Last of Us actor at a convention, like that will be the default kind of thing they'll write, is like endurance survive. And similarly in the game, this is where Ellie kind of explains it. And I just love how she like sign languages it to him. I thought that was a really great touch.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and another kind of the football thing. There's a lot of kind of little like in the game, but the football one as well.
It was just such a nice way of doing that whole sewer section very quickly, but like it all worked the same way it worked at the end. Like in the game, you're walking through and you can explore everything, but just seeing everything, like the pictures on the wall, the football, the Savage Starlight comics, everything. It was just such a nice recreation. It looks basically identical, and it really made me just so happy. I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. This is like the most Easter eggs we've gotten in an episode, and it's put a smile on my face, definitely. So Sam Henry kind of gives his kind of backstory of like why Kathleen is after him, and mentions that Sam got sick, he had leukemia, and he needed drugs, and he had to sell out Kathleen's brother in order to get them. Did this kind of change your perspective, or like, would you do this if you were in a similar situation? Kind of pull this kind of move?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Fuck the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I've never been in that situation, but probably.
But I thought that was an interesting new kind of element to add to Henry's character. And this whole line, like, I'm the bad guy because I did the bad guy thing, and mentioning like, Joel, you should understand this. Yeah, it's a good line.
It's a lot more like, I get him doing stuff for his brother for love. Joel, I don't get why Joel's done all of the bad things Joel's done up until this point. It's less relatable because by that point is the one he loved had gone. So,
well, I think it's more like you understand.
No, James, Joel is a prick.
How dare you?
I hate Joel.
I'm Team Joel. No, I think he's saying you can sympathize, like if you were in that position with your daughter or your son or whoever. You would do the same thing.
I agree with Ben. Unfortunately, I think he's right. This related, they put a lot of time into making him seem like a rat and all the rest of it. This immediately changed your view on him, and you kind of thought, actually, you know what? If I was in that situation as a father or a brother or whatever, you'd do anything to save your family. So yeah, I get it. Just before you move on, James, I just wanted to mention this show has been really good at kind of getting me, because I haven't played the game, getting me to think I know what's going to happen, but then kind of subverting it. So throughout this entire sewer scene, there were a number of shots of either Joel or one of the other characters standing in front of like an exit way, and it was just black. So there was like an arch, and it was just black. And I was sure that at some point something was coming through out of that darkness to get them, and it didn't. And I thought that's probably been intentionally done to try and make you feel uneasy or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. And I would certainly, something I would say about The Last of Us is it's not predictable.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing people have kind of attached to. Sort of in the same way Game of Thrones, things can happen you don't expect constantly. I think that is something that I would say about this series as well. So back to Kathleen. So we see her kind of in her childhood bedroom, and she talks about her brother and how he would want her to forgive Henry, and the whole like it's pointless. And Perry kind of says, "Well, your brother didn't change anything, and you did, so that's why we're with you." So like I a lot of the arguments around Kathleen are I don't believe why she's in this position, but I get it. Like I think she's the one that led them to. She inherited it, but she ultimately is the one who was effective in the role.
Who was Kathleen's brother? I got confused a little bit with that.
So Kathleen's brother was the leader of the resistance while Fedra was still in charge. And Henry sold him out, and he was executed to get Sam medicine. So that's why Kathleen's been so like intensely pursuing.
You get that understanding of what she's doing.
So
she's doing it.
She just basically fell into a leadership role. She wasn't chosen.
That's good old nepotism, and I think she stood up, at the time that it happened, and kind of like people
royal family.
Yeah. But I get it. I think it's understandable.
Well, she is a Karen. She is going to be at the front of it, isn't she?
Yeah. So the group is kind of nearly at the outskirts, and they started to get shot at by this sniper. I like this kind of whole like, "Do you trust me?" moment. I think it's shown how far their relationship has come. So there's a similar sequence in the game where you're kind of walking and you get shot at by a guy in a house, and you have to kind of go through the houses and avoid getting shot by him, and you sneak up on him, and then you actually take control of the sniper rifle and shoot back. Dustin, like, are you a fan of how this show is like not only kind of adapting cutscenes, but there's like actual gameplay elements that are coming into it as well?
Yeah. Well, it's like I said about episode 3, we got that whole Bill and Frank story rather than a big gameplay section. So it was nice to see this section just pretty much get adapted shot for shot, except in the game you follow guys along the way. It was really cool. It's like the dialogue behind the truck was exactly the same. The Joel going into the house was exactly the same until it wasn't. And I loved the change that they did. can we talk about the change? Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get to it.
the old man.
The old man.
Like,
Yeah.
brutal, just brutal. And
Yeah,
then, yeah, but it was
Sorry, go
just awesome. It was identical, and then Joel gets on the gun, and it's identical, and I loved it. Yeah,
I thought it was interesting.
At that point, or at this point in the show, it's rolling over me. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I love how like Joel is like pleading with him. Yeah, we don't really see this side of him often, but he's begging him not to shoot.
I thought this was heartbreaking. You know, and I thought again superbly performed by both actors. But just the begging of him, please don't. You know.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I was going to add, if it's different from the game, you'll not know. Is the old man missing everybody because he's an old man and he's jittery, or is it because he doesn't want to kill anybody? Because every shot misses, and he's not that good of a sniper.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Shit, I think.
Yeah, because otherwise he wouldn't have shot at. He wouldn't have tried to shoot Joel at the end.
I mean, both.
Yeah.
Don't give him any credit, Peter. He's a terrible old man. Old people can be horrible as well.
Yeah.
Shoot him where he stands, Joel.
But he's got lovely white hair, Ben. Look at him.
Like a little skinny Santa.
If he was trying to miss his such a shit shot, he probably would have hit them. So I think he was shooting to kill, but he's terrible. That was sort of a really sad scene, and it's really good.
Yeah, I think as Peter said, expertly portrayed by Pedro here, and you know, aside of Joe, we don't really see that much.
It's a funny thing, though, isn't it? The vulnerability of like kids and older people, how that makes even the more hardened soldiers and stuff stop in their tracks, you know, for a second.
Yeah. I think it's excellent, but ultimately he has to shoot him, and he hears on the radio that Kathleen's coming out. I love the way it cuts to Ellie's perspective, and you just really faintly hear "run." I thought that was really
in the game. Like it's just with the dude. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. They added like an element, and, you know, like most additions to this series are fleshing things out or adding like a new, interesting spin on it. So that's why it's kind of the fans have kind of taken to it. But yeah, we kind of get this kind of chase sequence with the truck and everything, and Ellie shooting behind them and all. And Joel hits the driver and it crashes into the house, explodes, and he's getting surrounded. And we get this kind of scene with Kathleen saying, "I like that she's just not willing to let things." She's like doesn't even try and trick them. She's just like, you weren't a fan, Dustin? All right. He's no more comment. No, I like this. I like that she doesn't even try and lie about it. She just says, "No, I'm not going to let them go." Like they're dead too. And I thought that was kind of showed her.
Sorry,
question.
I think I dropped out.
A little bit.
I think all Kathleen has to do when people are in charge. If there was an apocalypse, if I was in charge, I'd want to take care of my community, build on it. And if there's some people who did something wrong, let them go. I mean, she had a chance to, you know, hopefully everybody in that community had a chance to grow and try to live somewhat normal lives. But no, she had to be all vengeful. And look what happened.
Well, it's even Perry.
It's when you've got to look at. Sorry, James. It's when you've got to look at the cost of her actions as well. Yeah. How many people have died in this pursuit of one guy and a kid? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like, you know, that's talked about. Like Perry mentions earlier about like we have other things to do. Like we're not just going to delay this a few days. And she says this. He's not my 7th priority. You know.
Yeah.
So she just wants this done, and then we'll get to kind of helping out because like the resistance is quite fresh. Like they only overthrew Fedra, you know, 10 days earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. I like this, but this whole kind of thing was like, is Sam that important? Like, is he worth? Like, kids die. You know, you should. Maybe he was supposed to die. The whole world doesn't revolve around him. Is he worth everything? And I thought that was kind of like a good kind of speech from her. So Henry kind of gives himself up. He asks, I love this look from Bella Ramsey here, like when he says take him and run, like she's like, no, please don't. And you know, I think Ellie in this episode sort of gets a sense of what Joel goes through, in that she's kind of the protector of Sam, you know.
Yeah.
I thought that was like an interesting.
Oh yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
For her. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so the car kind of sinks through the house, and then just all hell fucking breaks loose. This sequence was just amazing, wasn't it? Like this gave me like flashes of like hard home
Glorious.
in Game of Thrones. You know, it's that kind of level. Like just
Yeah.
you haven't seen infected. Like even in the game, you never really see this many infected be this aggressive at once. And I thought it was crazy. What were our thoughts on this one? Efren, what do you think of this sequence?
I love this sequence because it finally showed them a horde of clickers. We've seen them before, but just going after everybody. There was this one character, we're probably going to show him in the next clip or next picture, that I thought of Ben because he reminded me of a WWE. If a WWE fighter got infected, what he would look like.
Yeah.
Wow, that's one way to put it, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he reminded me of Ben as well, but for a whole different reason.
GP, were you a fan of this whole kind of?
Yeah, I really like the scene, the bits they follow as well. It was just really well done. Them just jumping out the ground and going hell for leather.
Just the kind of
It
chaos.
was really well done.
Yeah, I thought so as well. And
I literally moved to the edge of my seat when this happened. When the ground collapsed, I literally kind of sat forward and started taking. Which I just thought it was stunning. Super.
Yeah, and I love how it like lingers for a couple of seconds as well. Like there's not really anything, and then they just all charge out at once. It was fantastic at that. But we see kind of Ellie get in this car, and something happens later. But here we go. Here's the big daddy.
Yeah,
here's the bloater. Absolutely blown away. Like this, I could not have asked for a better like introduction.
Phenomenal costume.
I mean, it's fantastic. Just the fact that this is all practical as well. Like this is a suit. This is a $500,000 suit.
It was practical.
He's a big ass dude inside.
No CG at all.
That's really good.
Bodybuilder, amazing.
A muscly guy, I might add. So everyone's saying that I look like the bloater, isn't it?
No, I didn't say that.
An insult. Oh,
I said this character reminded me of a WWE wrestler, and I thought of you. That was it. Sorry, I didn't say it the right way.
Okay, I'll let you off then, because he's called
Bloater. I said it reminded us of you, just so we're being clear.
Like in the game, Bloaters, visually exactly the same. I think they've even gotten some of the people who did the like audio effects to come back for this show. One element, and I mentioned this in previous episodes,
they did the
exactly. But spores was an element in the thing, like these kind of spores in the air that can cause people to be affected, and bloaters can pull chunks off of their body and throw them at like Joel or Ellie, and they explode and cause damage. So that's like an element that they didn't add there. But I think like the physicality of a bloater has been perfectly captured.
So James, what is a bloater? Is it just a massively infected person?
Yes, this is. Yeah, so
the next step of
exactly. Yeah, so it starts with regular infected, then you have stalkers, which I think is the one that it's sort of halfway between a normal infected and a clicker.
Yeah,
I think that's what kissed Tess in the second episode. Then, then clickers and then bloaters, and there's a couple of other types that we won't see this season, but next season we'll be looking at.
Bloaters are kind of like if you were infected for multiple years and like somewhere where the mushroom can just grow and grow.
Yeah. And they're stronger than everybody else. They're like beefed up, strong one.
Well, judging by the way this guy's slamming people to the ground and everything, I think that's
just pulls his head off.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. Yeah, you got a head there, but this whole bit was absolutely incredible. And this is actually a callback to a pretty gruesome death animation in the game. Yeah, where Joel gets his face effectively.
I couldn't believe that. I watched that on your short and I was like proper shook because I've not played the game this far.
Oh, it's horrific.
I was like, oh my gosh, this wow.
Digging into his eyes and everything.
Pretty awful to watch.
Pretty hardcore. Like The Last of Us is a game quite.
Will all clickers turn into bloaters down the line?
I believe so.
Well, some of them, some people die. It's like if you don't get killed by the fungus, then you might become a bloater. But it's sort of your body. It depends how your body handles it, I guess.
Yeah. So and also like some just like grow into the walls, like we saw in episode 1. I believe. Yeah. So,
do bloaters make that clicking noise, or just clickers make that noise?
No, they kind of roar a bit like a lion.
The sound of a bloody dinosaur, apparently.
Yeah. But it's just like I just love the kind of the body slamming he's doing and the charging
Yeah.
and everything. It's just absolutely
Brilliant.
terrifying.
He's
And,
a wrestler.
Juggernaut
I'm telling
mode.
you, he's a wrestler.
yeah, it's fantastic though.
I'm the bloater, bitch.
Speaking of just another amazing portrayal of like an
Oh my
infected, this little girl
Yeah, I really
man.
like this bit.
This
clicker
fucked me
was
up so
just-
bad.
what the hell? So this is like a 9-year-old girl. I believe she's a contortionist, and she like sent an audition.
Oh,
into the
wow.
show and they put her in.
Shut up.
But yeah, just amazing. Like the way she's like
Terrifying.
bending over the
Yeah.
backwards over the
Some of the
chair.
best horror, really, for me. That it was like proper.
Yeah.
Whoa, you know.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
oh my god. But like, yeah,
She
stand
didn't
out.
clock it was a little girl at first, and then she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Ugh.
proper. I didn't either until I saw the T-shirt. Really,
Yeah.
but just the physicality of that was incredible. I thought like it was really, and there's nothing like this in the games.
My wife went,
No.
why didn't she close the window? No one, it wasn't a window.
Yeah, but just absolutely incredible. So Ellie gets out of the car and she kind of goes and sees Henry and Sam being attacked, and she goes and steps up, and stabs the clickers, and they kind of start to get away, but then Kathleen stops them. But yeah, just this whole like the little girl clicker coming out,
Yeah.
the way she jumps at her and she's like clawing at her and everything. That's very kind of clicker behavior in the games as well. Yeah, just
That's another death animation, I think. Yeah.
where you start getting clawed at. Yeah, I think it is. But just like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a phenomenal set piece. And I think this will probably be the most impressive infected sequence in this season.
I really
so I
like
don't-
that bit
Shot
where
there looks like it's from a comic or something. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so cool.
I really like the bit with Joel and Ellie, where Ellie's looking to where she wants to go, and Joel starts clearing the way for her.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
starting to
yeah,
understand each other a lot better now.
yeah, they're sort of in sync together. It
Yeah.
shows how their relationship has come.
Yeah.
Any other kind of thoughts on this
I,
clicker sequence?
I wonder, but in The Walking Dead, when somebody gets killed, they always show close-ups of them, being mutilated. But in some of these scenes, I've noticed that they don't really show close-up of her. She's just getting punched left and right, and then sucked or whatever they do. But they don't
You
show
see her,
like
you see her
close-up
get
of her.
you see her get bit, Efren. So she's gone her either way. But I think it's
Yeah.
pretty clearly implied that she's.
I know, but sometimes I like close-ups, to add to the gore.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to revel in the violence the same way that like
Yes.
The Walking Dead does. Because
Exactly.
The Walking Dead's like, look at our amazing practical effects as somebody gets their face torn in 3. This show, I like though that it's like it's about the characters and the story, and the violence is quite secondary. It's quite good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah,
But
just,
seeing that head pop,
yeah, that was just like oh my god, awesome.
It's
I yelled out, I'm like, they did the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Ben.
It's a bit of a trope, though, isn't it? Like that's the only thing I would say about this is the trope of the villain having the upper hand, just about to deliver the final blow, and then nature,
Yeah.
comes back to
Yeah.
bite or whatever. But hey, if it's not broke,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think 100%. But yeah, I excellent sequence overall, I think anyway. Sorry, my
Uh-oh.
screen-
Oh, Pete, you're
Just
gonna
hear
have to take over.
No, he's back.
Peter, get ready.
has got him.
Hang on. Yeah, here we go. I'm here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so we cut to they're staying at a motel later that night, and I think Henry and Joe have this really nice conversation about how like it's easier when you're a kid and everything. Nobody's relying on you, and yeah, they kind of talk about endure and survive.
Yeah.
That shit's redundant was a funny. That just made me laugh because it's like just the show poking fun at itself.
Yeah.
But I thought this was really nice, and I don't know, I can't remember if this is in the game, but like that Joel kind of invites him to come with them,
Yeah.
to stay with them, like they're just going to be a group together. Did you, any of yous, like not knowing how this was going, feel like Henry and Sam might be along for the rest of the show?
Yep,
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they
Yeah,
took a sharp left turn, and then never got too attached. GP, did you think you played the game? You knew how this.
I watched the walkthrough, yes, I knew what was going to happen.
You knew how it was going. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it's so tragic. This whole like new day, new start. It's just in retrospect, it's really kind of heartbreaking. So yeah, this is kind of this whole.
Think
Are
I'm
you never
back?
scared? I didn't know you were gone. Just You there?
Justin?
He'll come back in a sec. But yeah, I'm scared all the time, and I'm scared of being alone, and that's pulled directly from the games. But yeah, so we find out that Sam is bitten. So like, yeah, did your heart just kind of sink in this moment, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It was just awful. It was heart wrenching. But is she just stupid, Ellie? I mean, because she, you know what I mean? I kind of, this bit suddenly felt a little bit unbelievable that she would happily just go to sleep, or is that just because she's not experienced enough of the horror yet to understand how the world works?
Yeah,
She's
possibly
young.
the naivety of a child, I think, is
Yeah.
here, you know.
If you'd asked, 14-year-old me if blood worked like that, I'd probably be like, oh yeah.
Well, she feels like she's somebody else talking. Sorry, I think it just came back.
Yep. Go on, Dustin.
It's like Dustin's in a multiversal version of what's going on tonight. It's on a different plane. It's on
so
a different
sorry.
reality.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
We'll be in sync
Yeah,
at
it
some
must be
point.
the distance.
Yeah, what are you gonna say, Dustin?
Yeah, so it's like she feels that she's got this big responsibility on her because she's the cure or whatever. That's what she's been told. So she is kind of just trying to live up to it. I think, or at least like find her purpose, which I thought was a really, really great moment. And yeah, it's sad that it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think Cole collects. That's an interesting theory, but I feel like she wouldn't just fall asleep in the room if that was the case. That like she knew it wouldn't work. But to be honest, right, I for a second thought this might work because we have kind of the show has kind of changed the fates of some characters. Like Bill dies, for example, in the show, but in the game he survives. I wouldn't have been that surprised if they maybe decided to keep Henry and Sam alive. So yeah, for just a brief second, I did consider maybe they'll survive, but yeah, ultimately not. But this whole kind of "I'll promise I'll stay awake with you" and the little hug, I just think it's just such a well portrayed relationship in this this episode too, kind of child friends. It plays out a little bit differently in the game. Sam never tells Ellie that he's bitten, so she leaves him in the room to go to sleep, and you find that he just pulls up his leg and he just kept it to himself. And then Ellie comes in the next morning to get him for breakfast. And you have the kind of facing the wall thing, which you see in the episode here. But yeah, I mean, I assume once you saw him sitting up against the bed, you just all felt like, oh no, this is it. I was like, Did any of you can think that not knowing where it was going to go, that the blood might work?
I did. I thought it was going to work.
I was optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm used to these kind of shows ripping my heart out by now, James.
Yeah.
So I thought, nah, we're not going to give her a happy ending here, are they?
I think I've asked this question before. When somebody gets infected, like the leg, they can't cut it off to stop it, right? Once you're infected, you're infected. That's it, right?
Yeah. I think as far as we're aware. You have in the first episode, you see people without limbs, and I think some of us were theorizing that that's people who cut off limbs. I don't think there's ever an example given in the games of someone successfully doing that. There is examples of people
in the game. Yeah, in the game you can find like a note, I think, that sort of, or it's like it talks about how the infection spreads. I know that if you get bitten, like on the arms, like or the neck and stuff, like closer to the brain, you get infected faster. So I guess like you probably could, because it still has the fungus still has to grow through you. But yeah, like there's not, like you said, James, there's not a definitive example of someone cutting their arm off and that definitely worked. I think that you find a note somebody talked about doing it, but he still died. Yeah.
There's examples of it not working. So yeah, you never know. Maybe further down the line on the show, they'll show us that. But but yeah, just seeing kind of infected Sam is tragic. I thought.
Peter
absolutely. Down again. Yeah, there we go. So we cut the way they burst into the room and just the look on Henry's face and the way he shoots Joel when he shoots Joel's at the ground to stop him from going for his gun and everything was
Tim,
great.
literally as soon as he pulled the gun out and you could see him panicking, I turned to my wife and I said, "Oh, he's going to shoot himself." I just felt an absolute gut kind of. I felt sick actually because you could see how it was going to play out.
Is this
for a
after
TV
he
show
shoots
to get
them?
just as soon as you kind of as soon as you see him shoot his brother, I thought it was just horrific.
That is what happens. Absolutely horrific, and I think the scene plays out quite similarly in the game with him shooting at Joel to stop him from going for his gun, and then shooting Sam, and ultimately kills himself. But just the way like Ellie's little kind of horrified gasp at the end was just like sent chills down my spine. I thought that was really incredibly done. And Ben, you mentioned earlier, but I'd love to see this actor. I think this is a breakout performance for him, and we'll see him in more things.
100%.
But, just the tears in his eye and everything. There's been quite a few emotional kind of moments in this series. Was this one that kind of stood out the most for any of you guys?
Yeah.
I've cried twice, and I obviously episode 3, and this got me. Just a real somber, somberness, just so bloody sad and tragic, and it was like almost Greek tragedy, levels of storytelling, and in terms of kind of acting performance, I always talk about the wrestling terminology, selling. You got to sell that move, make it look real, and sometimes how a moment is sold is based on other people's reactions, and because of how good Ellie and Joel's kind of acting was alongside already superb acting in Henry here, the whole moment just, again, I mentioned it earlier, natural. Everything felt so bloody authentic and real. And Peter said about him knowing that he was going to kill himself from the moment he shot his brother, and that is testament to to Henry's performance. And you almost see it in his eyes, the hope drain away, the hope had gone, and in that moment you knew that he was going to take his life because the hope had gone. And that was horrible to watch.
It's not only just losing his brother, but just also all of the suffering that they've gone through in an attempt to save him. What
else has he got? At that point,
all the destruction and everything that he has caused.
Grim as well, but we talk about how relatable he is. I related to him in this moment. I probably would have put the gun in my mouth at that point. It's a pretty grim thing to admit, but that again. So just a really relatable, brilliant character.
Efren, how did this scene kind of? How did you feel about this moment?
Like I said, I thought they were going to be continuing with these two characters in episodes to go. So I knew once the kid got infected, he would have to die. But his brother, I was like, oh my God, it just left me in shock. I was like, dang it. You get invested in these characters in only one episode, and now they're gone. I was like, oh my God,
definitely tragic. GP,
it's good television if you get a dang it out of Efren.
100%.
Guys, if Efren doesn't have a dang it t-shirt by the end of this year, then what are we even doing at this point? Make it happen.
4 of them in the post.
Yeah, I don't swear. So,
GP, any kind of thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I knew what was going to happen, but when it did happen, it was such a good punch that you did feel it, and it's just testament to the actors, really, the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin, for me, there's been a handful of scenes, a few and far between, where I'm like, I thought that was really good, but I think the game did it better. And this, I think, is on par, if not perhaps exceeds.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
For me, it was the exact same scene as the game, and it works for me in the game, and it worked for me in the show. I was shocked how much it worked for me. I think Triple G said before that he felt sick. after the episode ended, like I was just sitting there sort of talking to my friend, I'm like, yeah, I feel awful. And yeah, I thought it like literally the dialogue and the actions, everything pretty much played out beat for beat how the game does it. And I don't think I could decide if one or the other did it better or worse. It was just really, really excellent and moving and sad and just heartbreaking. And I don't like the scene because it's so sad, but it's an amazing scene.
But like for me, I think I would say I got more emotional in episode 3 with Bill and Frank's kind of story.
Yeah,
but that one is more of a beauty to it, whereas this is just tragic. Like this is just a heartbreaking kind of moment. But yeah, in the game, the second he shoots himself, it cuts to black, and we cut to like a few months later. Because in the game, it sort of takes place over a year, and every kind of chapter is broken up into a different season. So like, I think this happens in summer and it cuts to fall like 3 months later. So, but we get this, like, I thought it was interesting to kind of throw in immediately afterwards, seeing where Joel's kind of digging graves for them.
Yeah.
And the way Ellie leaves the Etch a Sketch with "I'm sorry" on it was really heartbreaking.
I'll go next.
You've broken up there, Dustin.
In this scene, to me, it almost seemed like Ellie and Joel switched positions. She was more hardened. She knew what happened. Good, let's go. We're on our way. But Joel,
I think that's a very good point. Yeah, Joel's a bit more lingering on it and a bit more emotional about it. Like, because I think he kind of made a friend as well.
I wonder if he's recollecting when he buried his daughter as well.
Yeah,
if that link burying a child again.
Dustin, you're breaking in and out. I can't hear what you're saying. It's heartbreaking.
Did I break up again? Did you miss everything?
There we go. I missed everything you said. You can start again because I can hear you now.
No, so I said the Etch a Sketch thing is what, like, there just so much. Like jaw hit the floor, and I was just a mess.
Yeah, heartbreaking, I think.
That came through.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. So we got this kind of beautiful shot. We also I hadn't caught this up to this point, but the backpack that Joel puts on, that's Henry's backpack. And that's actually kind of his iconic like backpack in the game. So I didn't even realize that until I kind of taken this kind of screen grab for this episode. But yeah, we see kind of another episode where Joel and Ellie just kind of continue on their way. So that is episode 5 of HBO's The Last of Us. Very somber kind of finish to it, I think. So yeah, just kind of any last thoughts or final kind of words on episode 5. Peter, we'll start with you.
Just as I said earlier, amazing television. I am absolutely invested in this show. I'm loving it. It's blown us away. I think Dustin said earlier on about video game shows and movies not necessarily having the best track record. This is really turning the table on it. I would imagine a lot of people are sitting up and watching this now because it's superb.
Peter, this is what Uncharted should have been.
Uncharted was a decent film.
Uncharted should have been this good,
Uncharted was all right.
It's by the same people, Uncharted 4 is by the same writer.
It's wild that Uncharted is no good and this is spectacular.
Yeah, exactly.
No good? How dare you?
If I had the clip, Peter, I'd put the rock saying it's the biggest piece of dog shit up right now. Dustin, any kind of final thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, just awesome. Like, what a great reveal for them. What a great, infected action sequence. The relationship between Henry and Sam, just awesome. I think it's up there with episode 3 as being one of the best episodes. I think I'd agree with that. It sort of hit everything and perfectly. That was amazing.
Yeah, I would say this is your favorite so far.
Yeah, maybe. I think my favorite's definitely episode 3, just because that was like the one that changed everything and that was so beautiful. Yeah. And then probably this one, and then the first 3, slot in there somewhere. But yeah, just awesome.
Yeah, awesome. GP, any final thoughts?
Absolutely brilliant episode. I enjoyed episode 1 the most, and I'd put this one second.
Mm.
So, yeah, looking forward to what comes up.
Efren, any kind of final thoughts and what's been your favorite episode so far?
Certain episodes, they're raising the bar. Episode 3 and then episode 5, they're raising the bar. I just hope they can keep it up doing that, moving forward. How many episodes again? How many?
So we're more than halfway now. There's 4 episodes left. So by the end of next episode,
to see if how it's going to end. If it's going to end in a cliffhanger. Episode 9, you said, right? It's the last one.
Yeah.
What they're going to do moving forward. Some shows, going back to The Walking Dead, at the end, it was like 11, 12 seasons. People just lost interest.
It's not going to happen here, Efren. I promise you, they're not going to dilute the quality of this, or risk it. It's this popular because it's this good, and I think they'll want to keep that going. Cole Collects makes a little comment here. I love that Joel's collecting these items from other characters, the shirt, the backpack, the knife. Yeah, I think very much more natural, I think, than like in Uncharted, where he just picks up his bandolier and the music kicks in. I think it's more subtle, and I've kind of been enjoying that. Ben, final thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, just a masterclass in TV and storytelling and acting and writing, and the sets continue to be a standout for me. Like, I don't think I've ever watched the show that I've really kind of admired the sets in the way that I do with this, to the point where like I struggle sometimes to know what's CG and what's kind of practical. It's really that immersive. So yeah, just this has just been a consistently brilliant thing. And testament to this show is that me and my wife are watching it together. Me and my wife watch barely anything together, and this show is proving to be that kind of universally enjoyed by people, I think. So yeah,
absolutely, it's a phenomenon, I would say. So that's episode 5. For me, I probably would still say episode 3 is my favorite, but I put this at a very close second. And I think it absolutely lives up to the quality of the storytelling for this section in the games. And I think I would probably say I prefer this version of Henry and Sam to the ones in the games, even though they are phenomenal as well. Some amazing action sequences, absolutely blown away. I would say, I think the portrayal of Bloaters blew me away more than the portrayal of Clickers. I kind of had more hype for Clickers, and I thought that was really good, but this I was just jaw on the floor. And I think, anything that they've added for a reason, and I think has really kind of elevated the original material. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal episode. So that is episode 5. We'll be back the same time next week for episode 6, where we'll be catching up with Tommy again. So this is really good to see. It's not a spoiler. It's in the trailer for the next one, and it is in the promotional materials. So, but yeah, no, I'm excited for this one. It'd be cool to see Diego Luna again. I think he was really excellent in the first one, so it'll be a good one. So that is from me. Efren, what have you got coming up on your channel?
Actually, the February's advanced orders, we dropped it, or I dropped it today. It's me and Peter. We go over advanced orders for February, books that are coming out in April, and one book that we're looking forward to be reading next week. I always like doing these videos with Peter. We always have so much fun. My other one is the shorts that I've been doing. Did you know? Just trivia, about comic books, DC, Marvel mostly, little 1-minute shorts.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'd encourage everyone to check it out. Dustin, do you want to tell us a little bit about Adaptapals?
Give him 5 minutes.
Give him a second. We'll come back to it. Ben, what have you got coming up on your channel?
So I've been posting a Star Wars joke a day, just to hopefully raise a smile. Oh, we got Dustin's promo coming in.
We can't hear you, Dustin. We'll come back to him. Go on.
Unbelievable.
Well, Ben.
Yeah. So Star Wars joke a day, just something silly, hopefully make people smile. I'll be posting a Star Wars joke taken from the Star Wars joke book every day for the next month. I had just had a comment on one of the videos. It says, "Mate, you're a grown man. What are you doing?" So,
I'm sorry, Ben, but I thought it had to be said. It had to be said.
That's awesome. Dustin, are you back? No, we'll come to the end. If not, I'll just kind of go.
You will
over
be
that.
in another 5 minutes again.
Yeah.
Peter.
Yes. So tomorrow I've got my 1/6 scale toy review of Sideshow's Green Lantern coming out. Then I'm putting an extra video out on Saturday, which is looking at my 1/6 scale Hot Toys Wasp action figure, and I'll be putting out a load of Ant-Man and Wasp related shorts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to
I
coincide.
think the
with
timing of
release
that
the movie.
is perfect because we are going to be talking about
Monday. So I do a live show every Monday. This Monday we're going to be doing What You're Watching, and we're going to be talking Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania special. So giving our thoughts on the movie, which looks like it's dividing views at the moment.
I was going to
response
say I'm
is
looking
not
forward to it, but it's getting second lowest Rotten Tomatoes, I think, of the MCU. But do you know what? Like, Kang has been universally praised, and that's what I really want to see. So I think I'll still enjoy it anyway. GP, any kind of stuff on your channel you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've got a review coming out on Friday for Batman Year One. There's a whole video just went up last Friday, so every Friday there'll be a new long form video and shorts through the week.
Awesome. And Dustin, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Anyway, just we're kind of losing connection with Dustin. So Adaptapals is a podcast he hosts with his friend, and they go over comic book and video game and adaptations. And it's if you're a fan of Mr. Sunday movies, it's got that kind of vibe to it. It's very fun. But I honestly was blown away when I listened to a few episodes of how good it was.
Hear me?
There we go. We can hear you, Dustin, a little bit.
Hello, Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Just robots. That's all I hear. Here we go. Go on.
A link for Dustin's channel will be
in the description down below, as is the link for all the other guys' channels. So
apparently.
So guys, thank you for watching. Hang on, let me get those back on. Right, guys, thank you so much for watching. All you guys for joining. The link to everyone's channels is in the description down below. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And remember, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light, or to the edge of the universe and back. Endure and survive, and we'll see you next time.